Okay. Okay, we are good. It's recording and nice. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to Agentic Engineering webinar. Today I'm gonna demonstrate basically what are the various levels of AI coding. Then you can identify yourself where you currently are and how far you have to go up. One of those levels is still hypothetical level, which most of the industry is not there. Maybe Anthropic is, Pune is, but other than that, most of the industry is not there at the last level that I've talked about. But basically, that's what we are going to talk about, and also we'll deep dive into various concepts of AI coding, which is like rules, skills, MCP, subagents, all those things. Um, and this entire webinar is sort of an masterclass. I will have following webinars where we'll dive deep into skills and MCP and all those things. So there will be a certain limit in which we'll dive deep, because you can't create an entire MCP server in this session or set of skills or anything like that. But I'll help you like how do you can create your own skills and stuff. And trust me, skills is all what you need as of now, as of today. I don't know tomorrow something else will be there, but as of today, all you need is how do you create skills and how do you make them talk to each other, orchestrate those skills, and you're good. So yeah, that's what I'm going to cover. Let me now start sharing my screen. Okay, and I have to make this full screen. Okay, yes, it is being recorded. Okay, cool. So I hope you can see my slides. Can someone confirm?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, today we are going to talk about agentic engineering, and in this entire session, you will have something to take away. I'm sure about that, and if not, let me know. We'll talk about it also. But I think you will some have gained something which you already don't know, hopefully, and also some certain questions at the end, like we can think about it, because current we are coming from in sort of an age, I guess most of us hopefully are coming sort of an age where we are used to writing code with hands, and now I guess some of us might not be writing at all. I'll talk about myself. I have not written a single line of code since last 2 or 3 months in my company. So and it doesn't mean I'm not coding. I am shipping, but I'm not writing it on with my hand. So yeah, so this is what today's map will be like: foundations, then making agents smarter, like agents, MD, rules, skills, and MCP sub agents. Then certain advanced stuff, which is supervised autonomy, spec, harness. Then we'll talk about orchestration and dark factory. Dark factory is the thing that I was talking about, which is like sixth level. Uh, we will reach there someday, probably by the year end itself, I guess. But we'll see. So, and at the end, I'll also talk about my workflow, how I currently do development in my company. Not just development, I am a staff engineer, so I also do a lot of research, I do a lot of architecture works, all those things I will talk about, and especially development, because I think most of the people will be related to in their development journey of the engineering. So, first section is like first we need to understand that whatever we think our skills are, we always over assume. We always think that we know AI coding well. But the fact that you guys are joining this webinar, that means you understand that there is more to learn, and that you are not one of these people. But there are people, because I've seen we have had AI workshop in our company, and people were really confident that we know how to work, we know we don't need this workshop and all. And on the day two, they were like mind blown. Oh, this is there. Oh, this is there. Oh, this is there. Oh, I can do this. I can do that. Lots of people didn't even know how to navigate in cursor and stuff. That or they were using just auto mode. Auto mode. They didn't know. Okay, you can choose models. That level of enlightenment happens. So like that. This is a one common thing that I've seen, and there's a research also done that 90% of engineers overestimate their knowledge of AI. So we'll just broaden your knowledge today. So there are six stages. One is autocomplete consumer. We just do tab to accept, nothing more. I believe everyone has done that. Like we have already crossed that part. So if you remember when Copilot came earlier, like that was the first sort of an AI agentic thing, even before Cursor Cloud or anything, that they had this comments. You do comments and you write what you want to implement. Let's say I want to implement a function of debouncing. I'll just write that and it'll code it below. That is the stage. It was a very early stage, and I I I used to didn't like that stage because it did not give me exactly what I wanted, and then I used to try writing tests for because that's one thing that I did not like, writing tests for code. So I tried writing tests with that, like commands, like comments, write the test for this function. It barely worked. It did not follow the conventions. It did not follow existing testing patterns. Nothing. So that was sort of an autocomplete sort of a way. Is there anyone here who has not done this, like slash comments or autocomplete? Anyone? Anyone? I guess everyone has crossed that part. Uh, and feel free to just come off mic and speak, okay, at any point of time. Function generation. This is the second level when we started getting a chat window inside, and then we started, okay, let's implement this, and we started giving more context. We started giving like, okay, in this file I want to implement this, in this file I want to implement this. At that time also, it was not possible to reference a file. You just give it a name. In this file I used to implement this. In this file implement this function. So this is the second level. Again, I assume that most of you have crossed that level. So anyone who has not done this level at like generating functions using the chat or inline prompts also, I believe everyone has crossed this. Good. Then we came to another level. Like if since I'm a front end engineer, I'll talk about that. Like creating components, React components and stuff. Or maybe in backend, you can say like routes, like how to handle certain API routes, right? You start implementing those kind of things. Um, and maybe single page creation, multiple components. You just give your instruction. This is a component I want, and maybe paste a screenshot and just tell it that this is what I want. You can even tell that these are the components that you should use, and this is the library that you should use, and then implement this. So that was the next level, which is level three. Um, Anyone who has not reached this level? Okay, I think everyone has. That is what I expected. For one, two, three, I expected everyone will be at this level, and that helps me in the first part of my session. I'll skim through it because that's for people who are not even done that. If you have, or if you are one of those, just put it in chat. Don't be thinking that anyone is going to judge. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to let anyone judge. So just let me know if you have not crossed any of these. If you have not done any of these. Okay. Moving to the next level, which is spec from requirements. Now, this is certain level. I guess some of you would have done this. So basically, there is now sort of a plan mode in IDs. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Hopefully, yeah. So I hope it's my screen is still visible and it's the cursor window. Can someone confirm?
Yes, it is visible.
Thank you. Thank you. So now, if you see, most IDs have this plan. Okay. So what plan does, if you can give it the context of the problem that you are solving, and you can give it any technical constraints or whatever context you want to give, and it comes up with a detailed plan. You can call it plan, you can call it specification, you can call it work spec, you can call it whatever you want, but basically it will have a thorough analysis of what the problem is, how to solve it, and then a list of to do's at the end. So that this is how I'm going to implement this. So that is the fourth stage where you create specs. You iterate over specs. You're not like giving just one time. You can tell, okay, no, I don't want to solve this like this. I want to solve this like this. What about this edge case? What about this edge case? You can keep telling it, and then you can iterate over the spec. So you don't write a single line of code, but you build the spec. You build the document. of how are you going to implement it, or build the to-dos of how you're going to build it. And then once you're ready, you give it to the agent mode. Then it will implement it accordingly. Now, why this helps is that earlier, when you do just used to do with agent mode directly, you will it will implement something. Then you might have to ask around. I didn't want it this way. Do it this way. Uh, what do you lose? You lose tokens, and tokens are really important. So that's what you're saving here, and also time, tokens and time both, because you're not wasting time in correction, and also you're not wasting time, tokens, because something that you didn't want was implemented. So that's the fourth level, which is spec from requirements and supervised implementation. So you are supervising the implementation. Okay, plan, review, ship. Now, anyone who has not done this, just you can put it in the chat, not reach this level. Okay, good. I think we have good AI engineers here. Great. So it's level number four. Comes now level number five, which is orchestrator driven multi agent workflow. So now what this does is that you have a team of agents or sub agents which help you achieve your task. Now, how do they work? For example, what I do in my work, and what I'm leading an AI SDLC effort at my company, and how it started is that I and my manager thought of building a sort of an entire agent orchestrator, which will just take your input once, and you just give it a go. It will implement it end to end, including tests and code review and everything. I mean, internal code review, not external code review, not a code review by someone else. You still have to raise the PR. But how it works is that you give it the Jira ticket, or you give it a Confluence doc, or you give it some PRD. It can be markdown. You give it raw prompt in the chat. You give it relevant files, maybe Figma or whatever it is. That's it. You have to give it one time. Now, what will happen is the orchestrator will kick in. It will do first pre-checks. Do you have required tools? For example, do you have Atlassian MCP or Atlassian CLI, or do you have GitHub CLI, or do you whatever tools are required for this orchestrator going forward? That is a pre-check. So you can consider this as phase zero. So here you will see, do you have the required tools or not? It will check that. If not, it will prompt the user to install those, and it will also help it install those tools. Okay, so that is pre-check. Then next step, you go over the requirement. You go over the requirement. We kick in a architect sub agent. How we do it, we'll come to it when we come there. But I'm just explaining what is this orchestration. So we kick in architect sub agent. It will review all the requirement. Okay. So this architect persona, it will review all the requirements and it will come back with any sort of missing things or any clarification it requires or anything like that, and it will prepare. First of all, it will come back with any gaps that are there. It will ask you. You can say, okay, this is the clarification that you want to give. Then it will create a work spec, the spec specification part that we talked about earlier, the plan. Then it will create a detailed plan that how it's going to implement. Then you can review that plan, but parallelly what it will do, it will spun up a engineer sub agent, engineer persona sub agent. Now, based on the domain that you are, like let's say you are doing front end or back end or iOS or Android or whatever, you will have certain domain files that that engineer sub agent will refer. It will understand that, okay, if it's package JSON or if it's some other file, every repo of every different kind of work has some identification that, okay, this is an Android project, this is an Spring Boot project. So it will identify accordingly, and then it will refer the domain files. The domain file is something that you will give it, that for Android domain, this is how I implement it. For and iOS, this is how I implement. This is for front end, this is how you do it. So it will refer that particular domain and it will start implementing. Once it is done implementing, it will also write the unit tests. And when it's done that, it will again give it back to the implementation. It will give it back to the architect agent, architect sub agent. And now architect sub agent will review the code. It will give its feedback back to engineer sub agent. You are not involved in any of this. You are just watching it, or maybe you are doing something else. You are not doing. You are doing some other task. It's totally fine. This loop continues between architect and engineer. Architect gives feedback, engineer fixes it. Architect gives feedback, engineer fixes it. You can give it a max try, that okay, max five loops or three loops. After that, something is going wrong and you need to address it, because otherwise you'll lose a lot of tokens. So you do that loop. Once it is done, then you spin up the orchestrator itself will spin up a QA sub agent, and it will review the implementation based on the domain. Let's say if it's a front end or web, it will spin up. It will use Playwright MCP, spin up a browser, test it. If it is Android, it will do an emulator and test it. iOS accordingly, all those things. Backend, it will spin up a server somewhere. Maybe you have to give that capability to it. So then it will test it and it will give it a go. If there is a feedback, again it will give it back to engineer that this is what is missing, this is what I found, fix it. So then if engineer fixes it's simple and fix it. If it requires clarification, it will again spin up architect sub agent. This is the feedback I got, I don't know what to do. How do we approach? Architect will see the requirements again and see, okay, what is the correct thing, and it will give it back to engineer. Now again the loop between engineer and QA will continue, and once QA gives go ahead, it will then come to you that these are the changes that I did. This is what I tested. It can create an asset of a screenshot or a video that this is what I tested, and these are the changes. Now, do you want to create a PR? You just say yes if you are okay. If not, you can give it a feedback. This is not how I want it. This is not how I want it. It will again kick in those orchestrator agents. Once you are saying yes, I'm good, then it will go ahead and create a PR. Again, you don't have to do anything. GHCLI will use it. You will already have a PR template. Uh, it will create the PR on its own, and you just have to say yes. That's all. So this is an idea of orchestration. We are doing it in our company, and lots of companies are doing this. I'm just giving you my practical how we are doing it, and this is not just the only way of doing it. I'm just explaining how orchestration works. Basically, you are coordinating between different agents, and you are testing your input. And this is also known as harness engineering. We'll come to it when we come to that slide, but this is also known as harness engineering, and we'll understand what is prompt engineering, context engineering, harness engineering, all those things. But overall, this is what orchestration or orchestrator driven multi-agent workflow is. Now you guys need to honestly tell me how many of you are doing this. I'm going to flip those questions. Earlier I was asking who is not here. Now I'm going to ask who is here, who is doing it. Okay, Mani, you are saying you're not doing it. Malik, you are doing it. Wilbur, you're not doing it. Yeah. So, Malik, would you like to talk about that? What kind of agent orchestrator are you doing it?
Uh, at our company, we have tools related by some other teams. We gave it a PR. PR identifies, validates if we have all the descriptions, acceptance criteria, and 14 other parameters mentioned in the PR, in the Jira. If that is accepted, it analyzes your code, sees if your code is a front end or a back end based code. Basis on that, it identifies the changes that needs to be done, uh, publishes the initial to-dos and whatever it is planning in a Confluence page, which can be referred by the front-end agent. And front-end agent uses that contracts, makes the changes on your code. Using if it identifies a Figma link in the Jira, it consults your Figma MCP
Hmm.
and makes the changes. So we give it a Jira and we are returned with PR.
Great, great. Exactly. This is how. Similarly, what I it's exactly like that. Great, great. Someone else, Mainak.
Yep. So I haven't used any kind of orchestrator as such. Rather, I just very natively I just used Cloud Code with
Hmm.
having all those MCPs connected, the GitHub, then the Atlassian, Confluences or Jira, all these things all together. Now, what I did actually, basically, let's say if we are getting any kind of tickets, any kind of bugs, for example, and consider those are the front end related things, and I am also front end engineer, so I was just instructed, hey, please read that bug comments uh, asked by the reporter, go through that one and give me the answer. I mean the your understanding. So in that Claude.md file. I just simply instruct it. You can get the inputs either from the any kind of Jira tickets on Confluence or simply text log. Your task is to go through that thing, understand the context. Once it's understand the context, and in our Jira ticket, we used to put the components. So we used to have the multiple repositories and multiple repositories having unique component name. So I really don't have to give him like, hey, I want you to go through this repository. It will automatically check and identify this is the repository. And since I have already installed the MCP connectors on my Cloud code, it will directly go to that repository and will check the code wise like what's went wrong. And in that way, once it's identified, it will automatically do that fix.
Hmm.
Once and obviously it will ask me, hey, I have identified this is the context during the planning mode. It will ask, I can identify maybe this is the security bug what I feel, and you might need to change in this component. Do you want me to go ahead and raise the PR? And again, that GHCLI is the tool that helps to managing all this
Hmm.
GitHub commands, stuff like that, and it will raise that PR, and even the PR template also it will fulfill like the relevant, the unit, any kind of testing docs, stuff like that. Everything it will attach and raise the PR. The problem I was facing is the lot of dead code, and the problem was like even though some feature or functionality might be existing, it just creates on its own. Even though multiple time I tried to put the the guardrails, stuff like that, it just continuously somehow pick it up the same thing and just bloated code. That was the issue.
Yeah.
And another thing is the sometime, I mean, even though it understand that Jira context or the ticket context, but it might not have the visibility for that wider scope. So sometimes it just misses the edge cases. So
Hmm.
being an engineer, we have to fix that thing, stuff like that, right? And later again, the I think the Claude, the co-workers comes into the play that works as a sub-agents mode, and one I would say the master would be there, and they will just decide what are the this individual independent agents have done, and based upon that, it will give feedback, and this loop continues. So yeah, that's what my experience is.
Got it.
Very nice, I would say. Yeah.
Good. No, no, good. It's good. So it's sort of a pair programming sort of a thing. You are pairing with the cloud code and you're working like that. So yeah, got it. Got it.
Yep.
So I would place that between 4 and 5, I would say. Not exactly 5, but 4. Because agent orchestrator means autonomous thing. Way more autonomous. Autonomous meaning you don't require the human as much. You still require sometimes, but not as much. Only for context correction is where you require. So yeah, Rohit. Yes. Rohit, you're saying something?
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, even I mean, I haven't implemented it myself, but I mean, our UI architect is being experimenting with. I mean, like agents where like whenever we push all these metrics, right,
Hmm.
performance metrics to Grafana, right.
Hmm.
Grafana logs these metrics as well. So I mean, so whenever there is errors as well as some other things, right, some other exception, even we log, even all these logs also we push to Grafana. So based on that, so whenever there is a exception log or something, right, like for a period of time, for a period
Hmm.
of threshold,
Hmm.
these will be pushed to the GitHub Actions somehow, and through that GitHub Actions, this GitHub Copilot takes in
Hmm.
that, and it will auto assign to itself, and then it will plan that, and it will raise a PR. Like I mean, I just explained it very
Sure,
briefly,
sure.
but
Hmm. Hmm.
I am also not completely aware of that, but yeah,
Hmm.
that is what is happening. And at the end,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just for the review of the PR, and I mean, we can merge it. That is how I have seen multiple PRs, right? So that is one thing. That is one I have seen.
Great.
I'm not sure
Got
that
it.
is
It,
completely
it,
orchestrated even, but yeah, that
it
is
is
what.
what I would say harness engineering. So I'll talk about it when I come to that part. But yeah, good, good, nice. Thanks for that sharing that. So that's why I like to have these webinars, like not sessions, like not record on YouTube, because I we all get to understand how others are also doing. So nice, thanks for sharing that. Now talking about the last stage, which is like the dark factory. So basically, here what happens is you will have a sort of a Kanban board or something, whatever. Once the ticket is created, a cloud agent is spun up. Everything happens in that cloud agent, and a PR is created. There is no human in loop at all. This is the dark factory model. I believe Anthropic and OpenAI are somewhere doing this part, uh, and but others are still yet to go there, because this is meaning like the context in ticket is enough, which I don't think the it is ever enough, because even we have to go to the PMs 100 times to get proper context, right? We have to go to the product manager. Okay, what about this, what about this? If they started giving proper thing, then we might achieve this. But thing is, we need to enable that also. Currently we are thinking about agentic engineering, but the problem that we face is that once we have done the AI adoption in our company, everyone is using AI SDLC engineers, but product managers are not fast because they are not able to churn out requirements faster. So now we are working on enabling them. We are creating PM orchestrator and all those things. So basically, that we will reach dark factory. We will reach when all of the SDLC participants, including PM, design, everyone is AI enabled. Then probably we can reach dark factory. Maybe there will be some tool by which we can be end of the year, can be end of next year, but it is not far. That's what I can say. So that's the last stage. Okay, so you should identify which stage you are currently in. From what I understand, most of you are at 4, some of you are at 5. If someone is at 6, let me know. I would like to definitely understand how it's happening. But even I am at 5. Okay, and we are in our company also at 5. So either you are at 4 or 5. So um, let me know if anyone is at 6. You can put it in chat. Would definitely love to know that. So now coming to the actual part, right? So stage one is like I already talked about. So I'm gonna skip this. Yeah, there's just that of that. Let's see that. Okay. So yeah, yeah. Do this. Can you just drop the number that you think you're in the chat which you are for? I'll pull it up again. The levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just put it in chat where you are. I think it will be 4 for most of you. I just want to understand. Meanwhile, you drop. I'll move to the next slide. Cool. So now, in terms of models landscape, since you guys are already pro sort of AI coding engineers, you would be using Sonnet, basically Claude models, or you might be using Codex. Codex is also something that people might use. So I'd like to understand. You can put it in chat, like which model do you use? If it's not Claude, what is it? 4, 4, 4 for everyone is at 4. Nice. 4 by 6, Prashant, what is it? Oh, okay, Sonnet 4. Okay, we are talking about a model. Okay, got it. Great. Anyone else using anything apart from Sonnet? Anything apart from Cloud models, basically. Got it. I'll take that as a no. So it has been seen in the industry, it has been experienced by engineers that Claude models are really, really good in coding. And that's why for coding specifically, you should either be using Sonnet or Opus. Now, Opus 4.7 just released day before yesterday. So I had to update my slides. It was 4.6, but now it's 4.7. And when to use which one? Earlier it was fine, you could use Opus for everything, it's okay. But now they are now increasing the API pricing. And second, earlier Cursor ID used to give us request based usage. Now it is all API billing based usage. So I don't know how many of you have seen that change in your company or not, but in your Cursor dashboard you will be seeing dollar amount like $300, $500, $1,000, whatever is the limit, not request. Earlier it was requests. um, and if you are still seeing requests, that means your old contract is not yet over, and that's why you are seeing requests. But as soon as your contract will renew with Cursor, you will start seeing dollars. And once you start seeing dollars, you will start consuming that very soon. People have in our company, people have consumed that within 10 days. The entire month's thing they have consumed it within 10 days, because this API pricing is really high. It's earlier it was subsidized because they were getting us adopted, but now we are used to it. Now we are addicted to it. So now they know, okay, now we can give them the actual price. And it's not that they are earning a lot. They were burning. Now they might earn properly. Okay, so Mayanek is saying that you use GLM 5. Yeah, that is an open source model, right? Or open weight model, something like that. Yes, correct. Um, so what I would say is you use Opus for planning, and even on Opus specifically in Cursor you have multiple. So it's like low, medium, then high, extra high, and max. Those are five, and even that there is thinking and non-thinking. Okay, so I mean there is no guide to this. What I would say is try go with high. If you are not able to achieve the result or not able to create that plan or spec that you need, then go for extra high or max. If you are able to, then fine. And when you are implementing, when your spec and everything is ready, okay, then you go for Sonnet. Sonnet is really good for implementing. Even though it's 4.6, it is still good. So for implementation, go for 4.6. Or what I am doing as of now, since last 2 days, because it's just 2 days, it released 4.7. I am doing high or extra high for planning and Opus low without thinking for implementation. So now there are two things: thinking and non-thinking. Like basically, non-thinking and extended thinking. So it's just that the difference is that how much sort of time it should spend in evaluating your problem. So there are two things: one is effort, and one is amount of time spent. So thinking will just do more of thinking and spend more time, and effort is like how much effort should I put in this, how much basically extended research should I do for this. So those are the two things. So for planning I would say you can always use thinking models. My suggestion would be thinking high, 4.7 opus, and for implementation either go for sonnet or opus 4.7 low without thinking. So I'll also show you that in my cursor it's not there because I am not in a, this is my personal cursor, but in my Claude code, so I'll show you that. See this? This is an effort: low, medium, high, extra high, max, and then there are models. I don't know why it's not showing the thinking non-thinking thing. Maybe I'm just a pro subscriber. Maybe it's given to the max subscribers. But ideally, in cursor you will see thinking, non-thinking, all those things. So here, see this brain symbol is basically thinking. Okay, so yeah, that's about the models. So yeah, there are other models also. 5.3 codex, that's also good. I heard. I use it barely. I only use it for reviewing. So what I'll do is plan Opus, implement Sonnet, and then review it internally in my cursor using codex 5.3. And what I have seen is codex models are really good in finding issues in code generated by Sonnet models. So that's they are really good in that. So for review, I especially use 5.3. So you can use that. 3.1 I only use for learning. Gemini I only use for learning or content creation. Otherwise, for coding and all, it's always Claude. And in terms of terminals, you guys are aware, most of you are using Cursor, some of you are using GitHub Copilot, one of you also mentioned, I think, Cloud Code. But I don't think anyone is using anti-gravity. I think only Google is using it because it was very late. Like it was Windsurf fork. So that what Google did is they what is it? Mm, they hired the CTO and CEOs of Windsurf, and then they forked Windsurf, and then they created their own anti-gravity thing. So they were way too late in this race. So I have not seen enterprise people. Even we are on Google Suite at Procore, but we don't use anti-gravity. So they are very late. But for personally, I use anti-gravity because it comes with my Gemini Pro subscription, and that's the only subscription that I would say I can pay for. So for personal use, I have used anti-gravity, and otherwise, for work, if you're getting cursor, use cursor. You can use whatever you're getting, but if you're getting multiple options and cursor is one of them, definitely use that, or go with Cloud Code. Either of those is fine. Uh, I have heard Copilot is getting better, but it's difficult for me to move to anything else apart from cursor or Cloud Code. I'll use that, and it's not just for me. Most of the people have seen cursor and Cloud Code is better. in terms of coding, like basically engineering tasks, basically. So before I move to the next section, like any thoughts here, anything that you want to add?
Yeah. Hi, Paul.
Yeah.
Uh, you mentioned you are using Cursor, right? Like how Cursor 3, I think latest they have using Kiwi models, right? Like how is it? Is it any better? I think I don't think
Are you talking
people
about
are using
Composer
much.
2?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Composer 2.
so I have not used it. It is actually blocked in a lot of companies because it is underneath using Kiwi, which is uh, which
Kiwi,
is
yes.
which is a Chinese model.
Chinese model,
So
right.
that's why I personally have not used it, but I use 1.5. It is good. It is good for quick implementation and stuff. I would never do any planning with that. And in
Okay.
Cursor, whenever sub agents are spawned, they are spawned using composer models. So
Hmm.
but as of now, there is no way of configuring that. So
Got
that's
it.
an ongoing issue in Cursor. But if you are using any workflow or orchestration where you spin up sub agents, just click on those sub agents. You will see it is using Composer. So I think with orchestrator where it has to do some, if you're assigning some task to a sub agent, which is a big part of your entire planning, it might do a good job, but I would not use it as a standalone thing in my cursor. I would never go and select composer. So I think it's there over here. I would never do this. I would never select your composer. But if you are spinning
Okay.
sub agents, it by default comes and yes.
Hmm. You have mentioned that you are switching plans of Opus, right? Like max, high, X max, low. So is it every time it's a manual effort, right? There
Yeah.
is no way that we can automate.
As of now, there is no way, but I believe it will come soon because we are thinking of building skills or sub agents. Let's say it will implement with one, and the QA agent should spin
Yeah.
up with some other model. So that's what
Hmm.
we are thinking. But currently, it's not possible given the current whatever AI IDs we have. But I
But
believe
in
it
the
coming soon.
but in the agents.md, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we can specify preferred models, right?
Is it?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I saw that in that markdown file. I saw the preferred agents and this
it,
whatever
it,
that.
it might work for auto, but have you used it? Have you seen it switch? Because what I have seen, whatever you select here, unless you change, it won't select. It won't
Yeah.
auto change.
It won't change.
Yeah, that is correct. But I think you're right. Like I think I kept on auto, and then it will pick the agent from the agents.md,
Huh.
and then from there. Yeah.
But yeah, currently there is no automated way of switching between agents. Yeah, but it will come soon, I'm sure. Uh,
I have used Copilot extensively, but
huh.
till 4, I think it is too good. I think it I can't say it's on par with others, but I haven't used for orchestration and other stuff. But maybe it is getting better. But
It is
I
getting
did
better,
not.
is what I hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But instructions, coding, auto completions, everything is it does follows.
yeah, yeah. Because the thing is, Cursor won the market when it came first. And once everyone got addicted to Cursor, even if GitHub Pilot becomes better than Cursor, no one will move because you are already invested in Cursor or Cloud Code, whatever picked first. And I believe Cursor is the one which is used by almost all of them. So because you will also have enterprise contract with long-term contract with them, you cannot even switch to Copilot. So
And
that's
apart from that, the way they have targeting is also different, right? Like
hmm,
most of the people are addicted to VS Code that is an open source, and on top of it, if somebody asks you to pay, you might not pay. But Cursor is coming up with completely AI first IDE that's inbuilt having that access to AI models and then do stuff. So
yep.
it took some time for Copilot to get into that race.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the difference between a startup and an organization. Right?
Right.
They will move fast. Startup move fast. Organization will do that eventually, but cool. So here I was going to discuss the tab, chat, agent, but I believe you guys are already aware. So I'm going to skip all those things. Like how do you refer a file, code base, or docs and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, in terms of prompt crafting, also I'll just briefly go over that because that like you usually say that you are a TypeScript reviewer or you are a expert senior front end engineer or you are something like this, then you give it certain context, add rate and this file, and give the constraint that do not do this, do not do that. Then you give it a proper clear task. This is what you need to do, and also you give it output format. This is what the output format I want. So this is how you write good prompts. Uh, Earlier, this was really important how you write good prompts, but as and when the models are becoming better, I think you don't have to be that much a prompt crafter. Okay, you can just say implement this, and it will figure it out, or it will ask you any clarifying question if it needs to. But it is still good if you are doing this practice role, context, task, and output format. You will get better results. So even though models are getting better, it never harms to give proper prompts. Now coming to the section 3, which is the core of this, where I wanted to come to fast because I think we are late, a little late on the timing. But anyways, so agents.md, rules, skills, MCP, sub agents. Okay, these are the, what I would say, core fundamentals of AI coding. You need to understand these things. If you understand these things, you will be able to build any orchestrator, or you will be able to achieve anything. So ideally, not ideally, but the all LLM models, which are there, they are non-deterministic. Now, can someone tell me what does this mean that they are non-deterministic? Anyone?
We cannot determine the output. Like, I mean, there is no deterministic models are like. I mean, we can expect what format, what output it might give, but the non-deterministic is we cannot expect it, or what it will follow, like what solution it might adopt, or what that is, I think, on the.
Got it. So to explain in simple terms, if you create a function, okay, normal JavaScript function, and you give it same output, it will always give you same same. If you give it same input, it will always give same output.
Yeah,
But in an LLM model, if you give it same input and you try it 5 different times in 5 different agent contexts, okay, it will give you 5 different output. It might be similar, but it will be not exactly similar. So that is what non-determinism means. Yeah, someone was saying something.
yeah, same thing. Like kind of pure functions we have, like same input, same output, but it expects exhibits a different behavior for each input, though it might be the same.
Correct. So that's what non-deterministic. You cannot determine the output. It will, yeah, it will achieve what you want, but not exactly how you want. Sometimes, most of the times, I guess. So what all these things help us do, the agents, rules, skills, MCP, sub agents, they help us make the output deterministic by giving it feed forward. This is a word that I learned recently. Feed forward, just like that we have feedback. This is feed forward. So we give this as a feed forward to the agents, so that the output that we get is more deterministic. Okay, so now let's understand how it helps. uh, the first one is agents.md, right? You guys might be aware because this is the very first initial thing that happened. So now, what it is? So README is a file for humans to understand the repo. Earlier, we used to have READMEs in all repos, where you used to understand like how do you set it up, or sometimes it was just blank or having the template. But it's basically for people to understand that, okay, how do you set up it? If you run into any issues, how do you troubleshoot? Which team do you contact? All those information. Agents.md is for your agents. So you will tell that inside it that what is the architecture of your repo, what are your constraints, how do you do testing, what are the certain caveats that, okay, this is general practice but we don't do this over here, something like that. All that information you can give to your agent via agents.md. Now it is an open standard. It is read by like almost everyone, like Claude, Cursor, Copilot, Codex, Antigravity, everyone. Okay, it is an open standard now. And uh, what do you write in that, like project shape, right? Your local dev thing, like how do you set it up? Because local setup always has some other caveats. Okay, you have to put some certain environment variable. If it's a micro front end thing, then you always need a shell to be running. then different ports and different lots of caveats you have while running local dev. All of that you can instruct in agents.md so that it doesn't need all those inputs again and again. How do you build? How do you test? What are the caveats? Like this is weird, but this is intentional, so don't change it. These are some certain legacy patterns. We don't want to disturb it, and we want to continue following it, even though new patterns don't make there are new patterns. So all those things you will give it in the agents.md. So how it works is that whenever agent starts executing, the first thing it gets is the system prompt. What is a system prompt? System prompt is like every model will have its own system prompt. So basically, let's say in Cursor, if you use Cloud model, it will have its own system prompt that how it is supposed to work. And these system prompts are usually proprietary. Company will never tell you what it is. So that's how the models work. So that's why Claude is better than Gemini or Codex in terms of coding, right? Why is it? Because of their system prompt. Um, so that is the first thing that it gets. The second thing that it will get is agents.md. There might be other things in between. I don't know. I'm not an expert over that, but what I'm aware is that it'll get system prompt, then it will get this agent.md, and then it will start executing. Then it will get all the prompt that you gave in the agent chat. Okay, so that's how it works. And yeah, this is one example of agents.md. I'll actually I'll give you one link of markdown file later. You can refer that. Even these slides, I have to refine these slides, but once I'm refined, I'll post it. Then there is a Claude MD also. It is same like earlier when everyone was coming with their own way. So Claude had their own way of Claude.md, but now it also supports agents.md, so it's fine. So it is the same idea. Okay, and it's not so much different. It's just that it's for Claude specifically. And there are one more thing is that your Claude MD or agents.md, where it lives depends where it applies. So if you have something like this, okay, this can be Cursor or Claude or anything, and if you have agents.md within that, that means it is your global level thing. So any repo that you clone, everywhere that Claude MD will be inserted in the agent after the system prompt. So make sure you're not adding these kind of files globally, because I don't believe one Claude.md or one agents.md is uh, what do you say, meets the requirement of all the different repos. So don't keep it global is what I would say. There are certain things that you can keep global, is something like skills or those things, but agents.md, Claude.md, don't keep it there. Another is that your project root. So if you're keeping it in your project root, that means it's just for that project. And even if you keep under dot Claude in your repo, okay, inside that also Claude.md or agents.md or whatever, then again that's repo specific. So only one suggestion: don't keep your agents.md at global level. Keep it in your repo level. Yeah. So yeah, even Copilot has Copilot instructions. So that's also there. But I think Copilot instruction is more of rules, agent rules. So in Cursor we have rules. Similarly, Copilot has instructions. So now what are rules? So basically, rules are your guardrails. Like uh, don't do this. This is how we try to test our this is the we are using React testing library. We are not using Mocha or something like that. For mocking API response, we are using MSW, mock service worker, all those kind of things. And also any kind of coding standards that you want to, coding patterns, like always use pure functions, always use arrow functions, all those kind of rules you can put it in your rules file. And that is also known as instruction in Copilot. Okay, so it exactly lives here, your .github folder, inside that Copilot instructions. So or you can have individual instructions. This is like one global instruction in your repo, and this is like individual instruction. Let's say if I have something for TypeScript, I have something for Java, then I can give it like this: TypeScript.instruction.md or Java.instruction.md. I can name it whatever I want. It will accordingly be applied. And yeah, so here you can tell, should it always apply, should it not always apply, when should it apply. Okay, it will see based on the description, okay, what it is for, and accordingly, and also it will see on which files do I need to apply. So you should not keep it always apply unless it's some global rule. And if it's some global rule, just put it in agents.md. I would say rules should be not applies always, and it should be based on the file pattern. Uh, but again, that's just my thinking. There is no standardized way of doing it. This AI things keep changing always. So you can use this like use Zod for every external input, prefer const, plus arrow function, all those things, all your preferences, right? You can put in this MDC file. So now you don't need to worry about linting and prettier and all those things. All those things AI will take care if you put it in rules. Okay. So in cursor, you have to put it in dot cursor, rules folder, some name dot mdc. Okay. So that's how it works. And yeah, four ways to apply: always apply intelligently, it based on the description. File match, that's what I would suggest. Either file match or apply intelligently. Never do always apply. That if something is always apply, put it in agents.md. That's what I would say. uh, yeah. And project rules versus user rules. So in your cursor settings, if you put it, yeah, if you put it here, okay, that's a user rule. It will apply across repos. So again, don't put it there. Uh, Ideally, if you are dealing with multiple different kind of repos, don't put it there. But uh, if you know that this rule applies in all the repos that I'm ever going to work with, then put it. But I don't think that's ever a case. Always put it in your own local thing. Okay. So let's see. I think I have cloned this Gemini CLI. Let's see if there's something like this. They have GitHub, they have Gemini. They have commands and skills. Okay, we have not come to there yet. Anyways, got it. Rules, examples. Yeah, gonna skip. Okay, so are we on time? No, we are a little like. Okay. Now, before I move to skills, any questions till now in understanding what are rules? No, agents.md. Okay.
So, one question. Like these instructions and the agents.md, like, do you generate them like from the AI and then refine them, or
Yeah.
for some instructions, I mean, not generic instructions only, but like for example, some specific instructions, you write them from scratch.
Got
I mean, completely.
Good question. So now with AI, usually we don't do anything from scratch. You will ask it to write it uh, based on like you give it some input, it will create those agent.md or instruction files or rule files, and then you edit it. So it is like use AI to create it and then review it. You can delete or add anything. But if you write line by line, you might miss a lot of things and you will also waste a lot of time. Because AI will know how agents work and it will write it in that form. You might not know. You might miss something. So always generate it initially from agents.md or sorry, from AI, and then you review those files. Accordingly, edit, update anything that you want in that. And for Claude, I believe there is a command /init. If you're using Claude code, it has the command /init and it will create the Claude.md file. And then you can accordingly update it. Okay. Cool. Now let's come to skills. So skill is a thing that if you are doing anything repeatable, okay, or if you want to teach something to your agent that this is how you do this thing, then you should use skills. And also there is some what do you say uh, advantages of using skill, that it does not your take your context too much. So what it will do is, let's say if you have agents.md, as I told, it always goes in your prompt. Skill, only the description goes in the prompt. It will see if it is relevant, then it will load those skills. Otherwise, it will not load those skills. Okay, so that is another advantage of using skills. So you can have like hundreds of skills inside your level repo or even in the repo, but you don't have to worry about that. That it will consume the context. It will not consume the context. It will only consume the context of the description. That's all. So this is how your skill looks like. You have a name, you have a description. This is what will go in your context for all the skills, not the entire skill definition, which is different than agents.md. Agents.md, entire thing goes. Is there any question? Oh, good. And yeah, so then you write whatever you want to teach the agent to do. So skills is now the, I would say, standard way of doing agent orchestration. So basically, you can write a skill of your design pattern. So in your own company, you might have your own design system. You can create a skill out of that. Then you want to do something. Let's say you want to use Atlassian CLI. So I always use Atlassian CLI instead of Atlassian MCP because I have seen better outputs with Atlassian CLI. But what happens is like if you tell an agent to use Atlassian CLI to do anything or any CLI, it will first check its commands. It will first run a CLI dash dash help. You'll see what commands are there. Then it will try to attempt to do something, create a story or create a task or update a task. It will fail a couple of times and then eventually it will do. So for in terms of time you're losing 10 seconds, but in terms of tokens you're losing a lot. So you can create a skill of Atlassian CLI that this is how you create a story. This is how you update a story. This is how you create an epic. This is how you link a story to an epic. So if you give that, your agent now will spend less token and less time, and both are important. So anything in which either you can save tokens and time for agents, or you have to teach something which it doesn't know. Right? How do you write your React components? Right? Now this is how. This is not the rules. So there are difference between rules and skills. Skill is how you do it. Rules is what are the standard way of doing it. That's all. So because earlier when skills were not there, people were using rules as skills. But as soon as skill came, when people who realize they have moved to skills, and rules are just for sort of your linter and prettier. Just assume rule is your linter and prettier, and skill is how you're instructing agent how you should do that. It can be anything. It can be like code review skill. How do you do code reviews? You can instruct it that this is how I want to do code review. So all those things you can create a skill.md file, and accordingly it will work. So I'll show you some skills. Uh, I added one skill creator skill. So this skill is an official skill creator skill by the Cloud. Okay, I'll give you the resource. I'll give. Let me give it. uh, Any skill you create, you should use this because like this is like the standard way of creating skill. Mm, so yeah, so you use that. Yeah, you use that. You install the skill, and so it will start appearing in your cursor if you're using. It will start appearing under the skill section. So I'll tell you where exactly to go. Uh, if I just okay. So basically, you go to your cursor settings and you go to your rule skill sub agent. Here you will see all the rules, skills, and sub agents. Okay. And similarly for I would say someone is yeah. Similarly, if you want to see it for not anti-gravity, I don't think anyone use anti-gravity, but for Visual Studio Code, if you want to see, there is this agent setting, and you can go to skills, and you can find your skills over here. Okay, these are like again it will say which are user skills which are built in or something. So you can find your skills over here. And how do you invoke? It is very simple. So you can just use skill creator. Now whatever the name it is. Now the thing with skill is that there are certain if you put proper description, it will be auto invoked. Okay, so let's say use when the user asks how does this work. So if user asks how does this work, the agent will intelligently apply this skill. But the reason that I don't like this approach and explicitly calling skills is that at certain after certain time you will have a lot of skills in your folder or in your IDE, and lot of them will have cross-referencing things that okay, for code review also you will have some particular code review skill, and you will also have a PR skill. Both of them are being invoked at the same thing, so you can't deterministically tell that which of this skill will be invoked. That's why I always, what I do is, if I want to use a skill, I will explicitly use slash this to do this, use slash this to do this. I would not rely on the agent intelligence. I'm not saying agents are not intelligent. It's just that because you have multiple skills in your agent, it will just pick any one of them. We don't know. So this is my advice. If you're using skills, always call it using slash the skill name. Okay. Okay. So before I move, does anyone know, or does anyone have any, has anyone used skills, created skills, or existing skills, or anything like that? No.
I've used skill for creating and writing test cases.
Got it. Great. Anyone else? Skills? Is it first time you're hearing about skills? Anyone?
No, I think we use skills.
Hmm.
I mean, there is a architectural skill as well, where one, I mean, if we have any questions right, in the repo, it might answer that we're using that skill. Right? And I mean, that skill has all the context to the architectural ability.
Hmm.
There are many skills that we use, yeah, but
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Good. So if you're not using skills, I would say go ahead and start using skill. I gave the link of the skill creator, that is by official Anthropic Claude, whatever you call it, skill. So if you're not using skill, then just go ahead, start using skills for any repeatable thing that you do daily. For example, at the end I'll talk about my daily workflow. But for example, we use GitHub CLI to do anything which is related to GitHub, right? So let's say you want to review a PR, so you will use GitHub CLI for that. Now, uh, you can create a skill out of it. That is how I like to review. You can give it proper command. You if you do something, let's say every morning you have to post a message or updates in Slack. You can have a Slack MCP integrated, and then you can create a Slack skill where you will tell that this is the format of message that I want to send, this is the channel that I want to send it in, and this is the time that I want to send it in. So you can do that. So anything that you're doing in your daily life, try to automate it using skill. It will save you a lot of time. Trust me. Now, any questions in skill? Okay, yeah. Before that, so how does a skill work? Is like you'll have a skill folder, and in that you will have one required file, which is your skill.md. Okay. Now, you if you have references, you will add it in a references folder. Okay, and you can even have scripts, you can have assets. All those are additional optional thing, but skill.md is really important. That has to be there, otherwise you will it will not be a skill, it will not be treated as a skill. But references, scripts, assets, all those are optional. If it's required, add it. If it's not required, don't add it. Okay. Also, keep your skill lean. Okay, because what I've seen is earlier when I didn't know like how do I really write skills, I had like very large skills, and sometimes agents didn't used to follow it. So I asked my agent only, why didn't you follow this? It's already saying that you have to do this, you have to do this. So I then asked it, do you always follow skills or not, and all those things. So what it told me is that, see, if you want me to follow everything, then add it in rule, because rule will be injected in each prompt of your chat session. Skill will be only injected once in that chat session unless you call it again. So that's something that I learned again by asking agent itself. And also it told me that if you want something that is must in a skill, add it in the first 20 to 25 lines. Then it will be followed. Again, it's not 100% guaranteed, because LLMs are non-deterministic. We can't guarantee anything. But if you want to increase the chance of determinism, so your first 25 lines of your skill should be the most critical thing. And if you want something which is applied in each of the prompt, put it in rule instead of skill. So yeah. Uh, rules and agent. I think agent rules is applied in each prompt. Agent.md maybe just once in a chat. Yeah, it agent.md is just once in a chat with the system
Okay.
prompt. That's what I think. But do confirm that, like ask Gemini or something. But as an as now, where do skills live? If it's a personal or global skills, skills is the only thing that I will say. Put it in global. Okay, so either like this Claude or Cursor or any whatever you're using, um, and edit over there, or GitHub, like for Copilot, and you will have a skills folder, and then you name the skill and skill.md file. Then there are project level skills, right? You can put it in the project repo in .cloud or .cursor or .github file. And then there is a plugin. So see, if you notice recently, there's a marketplace thing in your mm, cursor. So here there are various plugins that are available. Okay. Now what are plugins? Plugins is like it is a set of MCP plus skills. So if you want to add plugins, it will either add MCP, either add skills, or it will add both. So uh, if for standard software that you use, I would say just install their plugins. But for your own thing, just create skills. And if you are creating a plugin, put it in your plugin sort of folder. And like enterprise is managed settings, so that's not what we want to discuss. And for how do you write skills, and if you want to know more about skills, go to agentskills.io. So let me see if it's correct. Yes, and let me paste it. Okay. Now, like they have given you various examples of what are good skills and bad skills. You can check it out later. It's like just use Skill Creator, and in our company we have already also created a skill orchestrator, which will help you create a skill. Then it will do a skill review. It will do a skill evaluator, and once you do the review and evaluator, if you give that feedback to skill enhancer, it will enhance the skill. So maybe I can write it down in my own GitHub repo and probably create share with you guys. But yeah, so you can have that entire flow also when you're writing skills. So here's what a bad is like. Make me a pretty PowerPoint from those bullet points. So what you have to say is like with branded template layouts export script. So that's how you write it, like proper input instead of random input. Yeah, MCP. So I know everyone would be aware of MCP. So anyone would like to tell me what's an MCP, or what do you think is MCP?
They give context to a cursor, external context.
Yes, yes, they give external. So that's a very good in brief explanation. So anything that is external to your system, let's say Jira, right, Atlassian Jira, or your observability, let's say you are using Datadog or Databricks or something like that, uh, or even Slack, anything external, and which cannot be a skill. Skill is something which does not require live input, right? Skill is something which is reproducible. If you want to fetch something from your Atlassian Jira, it can't be a skill, right? Because you have to fetch it live. So you can use MCP in that case, or Atlassian Jira, anything like that. So MCP and skill have different purpose. Don't mix them, because when skills came, everyone was like MCP is dead. No, it's not that. They're both serve a different purpose. Skill teaches the agent how to do it. MCP will help provide external system context. So those are the difference. Okay. So yeah, just an example of architecture of MCP. So let's say you have a client, which is like an MCP client, and then an MCP server of file system, MCP server of GitHub, MCP server of Sentry, right? So and even in this MCP servers, they can be either local, which is like you are running it in a local like a Node.js server or a Docker, or it can be remote like Atlassian or Slack. They are all remote. They are running in the remote server, and you are connecting via a streamable HTTP. And if it's in local, then you are connecting it via SDD, standard IO. Okay. So and in MCP there are different parts. One is host, client, and server. So your client is like host and client is usually your ID, and server is the MCP server which you're using, Slack, Atlassian, all those things. Now I did create an MCP server in my company, and I know how to create it. There are certain uh, fundamentals of it, like it communicates using JSON RPC and the transport mode, and the data layer and all those things. If people are interested, I might conduct a separate MCP session where we will implement an MCP from scratch. If you guys are interested in that, because usually people are using MCP, no one is creating MCP server. So I don't know how much it will benefit. Anyways, uh, yeah, so in MCP there are three things: tools, resources, and prompts. So tools is like executable functions. Resources is like again same references. What was there in skills? Resources is I'll give you an example. So I created an MCP server for our design system skill, and in that references was the TypeScript what is it types. Let's say a component, what props does it need? Does it need any parent component to be wrapped? Okay, so and what is the design guideline for it, right? All those things, and what is its primary color look like? What is the primary text look like? All those will go in references and resources. Sorry, resources in terms of MCP, references in terms of skill. Tools is like search component. So in your references, you will have lots of different references files for each component. So tools will be like search component, map component, get component. Map component meaning you are giving a screenshot to your cursor and asking it to implement that UI using your MCP server. So first it will have to map the component. It will have to see what different components are there in your image and have to map it. So tools will help that. Prompts are something that when do you invoke this MCP? When is this MCP invoked? So that's your prompts. So when you build a MCP server, you have to give tools, resources, and prompts. Okay. Tools is the one which is required. Resources and prompts are optional. Mm, yeah. So local SCDIO transport, one process, one client. Streamable HTTP if you're doing it like remotely. Then multi-tenant OAuth. So you can do authentication, all those stuff. It uses JSON RPC as I told you, and it has like a method like tool call. This is a tool call method, and it sends parameters and arguments and all those things. I'm not going in depth because we'll lose time in it. But if you guys want, let me know. I can create a separate MCP session. Uh, yeah, these are some of the servers that you uh, can use in your for your work, but always use only your company officially approved uh, MCP servers and skills and all those things, because it is very easily available. These MCP servers, skills, lots of them are easily available, which has like 100K uh, GitHub stars and all those things. But that doesn't mean much. Why do these things have so many GitHub stars? Is because people who are new to building, who are just come doing building because AI is made accessible, are going and giving it a star. Okay, that doesn't mean GitHub stars doesn't mean it's reliable or it is not something which is vulnerable or something like that. Because if you see, there are a couple of open source repos like everything cloud code. Then there's a superpowers. All those are there, which are having 100, 150k GitHub stars, but that doesn't mean it's reliable or trustable. Uh, every time you use something in your own company's context, make sure it's approved by your AI team or whatever it is. And in our company, we have a AI Dev Guild. I am part of the AI Dev Guild, so I make sure I tell people that don't use anything that you want, and we don't block people. You raise a PR to our AI Guild repo, and we will review if it's supposed to be used or not. So we don't block, we enable, but we guide them that okay, use this, you don't use this. Same for MCP server. Even if there are lots of official company MCP server, let's say Atlassian MCP server or GitHub MCP server or whatever, still till your company approves it internally, you should not use it. Okay. Uh, uh, what is this demo concept? One prompt, three servers. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's just like how does yeah, MCP server works? Let's say you say look at the ticket and open a PR. So it will go to the agent. You put it into agent. Agent will go to Jira MCP server, get the things. You go to file system MCP, get the file. It will do edit and it'll create a branch and push it to main using GitHub MCP. So this is just an example that I want to give. Yeah, security discipline. I already talked about it. And now coming to sub agents. Before I talk about sub agents, any questions in rules, skills, or MCP? Any questions? Got it, money. Okay, so I believe no questions, and I hope everyone is getting it. What I'm saying, I'm not rushing too fast, or it's not going above your head. Because no response either it means you understood everything or you understood nothing. So cool. I'm assuming everyone understood all the things as of now. Um, so sub agents is something that uses all these things, and in your cursor you will see there is a section like rule skill sub agents. So here you can have your sub agents and it will be listed over here. And similarly for all other IDs, there will be. Let me show you for this VS Code. Yeah, agents. So they don't call it sub agents; they call it agents. So you can create your own agents here. Instruction here is rules. Okay, and anything else? No. MCP servers you already talked. So whatever I talked about, these are rules. Map basically cursor rules similar to that. These are skills. These are sub agents, and then there's MCP servers. Uh, and in cursor, I believe I already showed you everything. Rules, skills, sub agents. And there's something which is known as command, but it's like now no longer required because we have all those things. Uh, but yeah, in command you can give like create PR command, and whenever you call it slash create PR, it will create that. It will execute those instructions. But it's no longer needed as far as I think. But it's just there if you want to use it. So now, what is subagents? So it is like an assembly of your rules, skills, and MCP. So what you can do is you create a subagent file. In that, you can ask it to follow these rules. You can refer those rules. You can say follow these skills, and you can even say that use this MCP for implementing. So the way that I am writing subagents is using skills that within the skill I will instruct spawn up a sub agent, and I'll say use this Atlassian CLI or use this GitHub CLI or use these things. But you can also choose to write your own sub agents. So either you write sub agents within your skill, you can invoke it from your skill, or you can specifically write sub agents and they can be invoked independently. So that's how you can do. So here this is how you can do like code reviewer, description, and tools. So what are the tools that you want this sub agent to have? So you can restrict it because sometimes if you give all the tools, it will do all the things. So you can restrict it. This is only the tools that this sub agent requires. So here you are giving it instructions. Here is right. So yeah, this is all what we had covered in this section, which is agents.md, rules, skills, MCP, and subagents. Any questions?
So, how do we decide? Like, do we create more skills or more agents?
Good question. So that is a personal choice, or maybe you understand it by using both of them. What I have understood is that I don't create subagents anytime. I only always use skills, and within skill, I do instruct it to spawn up a subagent for this, and that subagent information I will add in a separate markdown file. So, in a way, I am writing subagents files, but it is not available in my cursor as subagents. It will never be available here. It will be within my skills reference folder. The reason being, I never want to call a subagent independently. I always want to call it as part of an orchestration. Because if there is no reason for me to call a subagent independently, if I want to do something, I will either call a skill. Yeah, that's it. I will always call a skill. I will not do anything else. For everything else, there are rules and agents.md. If I want a task to be done with certain instructions, I will call a skill. I I wouldn't want to call a sub agent. That's how I approach to it. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is my understanding, and you can have same understanding or you can have a different approach. That no, I believe that we should have sub agents and we should be able to call them independently because of so and so. So there is no
Sure.
hard and fast rule, but it's totally up to you.
Okay. 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 Yeah, but I have one more question with respect to this other ID, but maybe I'll ask it at the end of the session.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no. I mean that will be a bit of a discussion, so that's why I'll ask. Yeah, it's with respect to Visual Studio actually. It's like
Sure.
a very pain in, I mean pain actually, like using Visual Studio with AI. Yeah. So, not VS Code, but Visual Studio actually. Because we have these hundreds of, I mean sorry, at least like 50 microservices, right? So all these are under a single solution, C# solution file. Right?
Oh,
So yeah, so even Visual Studio stucks on the initial load. But I mean that's why I mean and yeah we'll need to I mean add AI to this. So that's the task that at least I have. So yeah,
right.
I'm just still checking actually. Yeah, so that
That's
is the problem there. And the Visual Studio doesn't even have plan mode actually. I mean, it has plan mode, but it is like autonomous. We can't even interrupt it. It will create in the memory underneath under /temp that plan file, and we can't even like stop it. So that is the problem. The plan we can't even instruct the plan mode. That plan mode is only not there with respect to Copilot. So,
uh,
but the problem here is everybody is accustomed to that Visual Studio IDE. So that
correct.
is one more problem. So yeah, that yeah we'll discuss later. Yeah.
Yeah. So front end developers are lucky actually because Cursor and everything is a fork of VS Code. Because people who are used to IntelliJ, Visual Studio, they struggle. They couldn't, uh, like, the initial resistance of them was that they will have to change their IDE. They were not against AI, they were against like changing of IDE. So for those people, because I have uh, supported people, like I have jump on a call and help people navigate via entire cursor. How do you create a file? Okay, in the Zoom call, I have told, okay, this is how you, this here, click here, it will create a file. Click here, it will create a folder. Because they were used to IntelliJ or something, all those things. So yeah, we are lucky. I consider myself lucky because I have been using VS Code and cursor is natural. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now this is the little advanced part, the spec, harness, and supervised autonomy. So the mindset shift is that you will no longer write code. You will create specs and you will run the harness. I will explain what is harness. A spec I already explained, but Can someone tell me who is here who is still writing code? Or that will be in a negative way. Let's say who here doesn't write code at all in their work? Anyone who doesn't write code at all? Oh, I thought you guys would be some who don't. I have not written a single line of code since last 2 months. So I thought I will have some company, but okay, cool. So that is a shift and a mindset shift that's going to happen, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. If today you are writing code by hand in assistance to your AI, soon within a month, within a 2 months, within a 3 months, you will stop that, because with AI you will have to ship faster, and you writing code is slow. So eventually you will reach at that stage, or your company will make you reach at that stage that you will stop writing code. And if you are there, the sooner the better it is, because you will be adapted to the new way of doing. So uh, consider this, like try to have a no code day, if you will, or a no code week in your company, unless it is mandated, because some companies are little backward in thinking, or I would say conservative. They still want, uh, but God help those companies. Anyways, so what your job is to own the spec, create the spec, and run the harness. Spec, I already explained what is spec. So basically, you discuss with the agent your problem, you create a plan out of it, you review the plan, you iterate over the plan, and then you come up with a final plan. So markdown files basically. Once you are done with the plan, then you ask the agent to implement it. That's what you do. That's all what you should do. You should not be writing any single line of code on your own. Now, what a good spec? Yeah. So what a good spec contains. So if you want to review your spec, what do you have to see? Like what is the scope? Like what are the contracts? What is the inputs? What is the outputs? Right? What will be the error shapes? Edge cases are covered or not? You should definitely review those. This is the thing that I spend my most time in giving spec feedback, edge cases, and test plan. Okay, so sometimes it will say, yeah, I'll do the testing. You have to be specific what test you're going to do. So that's one thing that you should focus on. These two things it usually is good in. These two things I have seen agents are really, like, they do okay job, because when you ask an agent to test it code, it will always say it's good. So you have to tell it, no, create a plan, create tests, and then you run those tests. Then you will see. Yeah. So how do you review your spec? Again, this is fine. You can read it. I'll share these slides. You can read it later. Red flags, generic test plan, no error shape. We already talked about it. Yeah. Now talking about harness engineering. Before that, let me talk about different kind of engineering terms that have been evolved now. The first one was prompt engineering. Earlier, when agents were just being used, right, the LLM models and stuff, people used to believe that if you write good prompt, that you will give you good output, and that was it. How it was in at that time. So that was known as prompt engineering. You have to be good at writing prompt, and I already shared one slide, right? How do you write good prompt? You give it proper context, you tell it how what is the output form, you give it constraints, you give it proper references. So that's how you write good prompts, and that was known as prompt engineering. That how do you write good prompts? Then came context engineering. How do you give it good context? Meaning you have to give it proper skills, you have to give it proper MCP access. All those became good context engineering. To give proper file references, give proper folder references, all those become then context engineering. The next shift that has happened is harness engineering. So now what is harness engineering? It is like giving it uh, feed forward and feedback. So till now, for prompt engineering and context engineering, we were focused on feed forward, meaning agents.md, skills, MCP, sub agents, rules. That is feed forward, and all the context that is given before the agent runs. What harness engineering focuses on is feedback. So it will execute the implementation in some safe sandboxes, and then it will verify the implementation. So this is what your harness. You are giving your agent, your model, and harness to execute what it implemented. So ideally, it should have state and a memory, a sandbox, and a verification loop. So let's say your agent does some editing or some implementation. It will do some type check, linting, unit test, integration. All green, no, then it will go back. And here in integration, it's basically your actual sandbox or Docker or anything, any environment, or maybe cloud agent. It can be cloud agent where it will actually run it. Like it will create a web browser. Using Playwright, it will create a web browser. It will do all the testing, and then it will, or if it's a backend change, it will spin up a server and try test those things. Similarly for iOS, Android, whatever it is, it will create the emulator. It will test it out. So that is your harness engineering. And one thing which Rohit spoke at the start, your Sentry thing, something you told, right? Your performance tools, or where you guys are seeing that if there is some change in that, you are automatically creating a PR or something, or a task. That is again harness engineering, based on the outputs, based on the feedback you are trying to improve. That is partly harness engineering, what I would say. So is this term harness engineering clear to you guys? Yes. Okay. Cool. Thanks for the confirmation. Okay. Going back. So the only change here is we were focused on feed forward. Now we also have to focus on feedback. Okay. Now these are the different components. Okay. I'll skip those part. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So basically, you add a rule in your cursor file for a proper harness. This is just one way of doing it. I'll show you better way of doing it, but this is like you add a cursor rule that always test your outputs. Okay, now how do you test using PNPM test or whatever? That is basically how you create agent harness. This is one way of creating harness. I'll show you a better way. Uh, yeah, this is actually better. So you write failing test first. TDD meaning test driven development. So whatever requirement you get, you don't write the code first. You first write tests, okay, covering all the edge cases, and they will fail. Then you start implementation, and as soon as you implement, the tests start passing. So that is what is known as test driven development. And if you are doing test driven development with agents, you are sort of doing harness engineering. Okay. Uh, uh, yeah, so the change that between stage 3 and stage 4 is that you have to stop micromanaging every line, or prompting, or running tests manually, or accepting diffs, right? So all those things you have to stop, and you have to write specs. You have to you write harness. You have proper. I'll explain what is respect, but it's like just requirements, and it's a short abbreviation of something. I'll show you. And own the acceptance criteria, not the syntax. So one thing that you are stopping is coding, and one thing that you have to do more is testing the output. Now it can be automated, it can be manual, but you have to test your output thoroughly, because if you are going to stop coding, then if you don't test it, then you are not needed, right? Why are you there? You are still there because you are the one who is contributing this implementation. Even though you did not write any single line of code, you made sure it is working as per the acceptance criteria. It is not causing any vulnerability or security issues, and it is covering all the edge cases. That is where you are part of. Coding is no longer your job. Your job is to implement. It can be binary, it can be anything. Your job is to test it, make sure it is security compliant, it's not vulnerable, and it covers all the edge cases of the implementation. Now coming to section 5, which is like the major part of it, which I am there and some of you are not there. I think most of you are not there, because I think in the chat most of you mentioned 4. right? Yes. And I think Maulik is partially doing that, so he might be there. But other than that, everyone is at 4. So now this is the main part. Let's talk about this orchestration. So I talked about harness engineering. Now, how do you practically do harness engineering? Right? So you will have an orchestrator which will decompose, delegate, collect, and synthesize. What does decompose mean? You are giving your agent input in many forms. For example, you are giving it in form of Jira, you are giving it in form of Figma link, you are giving it in form of Markdown file, you are giving it form of Confluence doc, any of these things. The orchestrator's job is to first decompose the requirement. Okay, that is the first job. Second job is delegate. You will have multiple sub agents for each task. At the start of the call I mentioned, right? Architect sub agent, engineer sub agent, QA sub agent. So your orchestrator will delegate relevant task at relevant time to these sub agents. Third, it will do is collect the output of these sub agents. It will collect and it will either keep it in some working document. It could be a markdown file or keep it internally. That is fine. That is totally up to it. And then synthesize. So at the end, it should create the output that you need from all the things that happened earlier. So this is what an orchestrator does. It takes your input, decomposes it, delegates it to various sub agents, collects the output of those sub agents, and synthesizes the output. So there are like these are some things that AI created. I'll just yeah. So basically, planner and executor. So even more than planner and executor, there should be a planner, verifier, and executor. That's the most basic form of an orchestrator. Okay, so what do you do is you have a skill. Okay, that will be orchestrating everything. In that skill, you have references folder. In that references folder, you will have three files. One is planner, one is verifier, third is executor. Okay. So why I'm giving you this? This is a very basic form of an agent orchestrator, and you can try this tomorrow or today in your work or even in your personal project. You can try it out. So planner will plan the entire implementation based on the input that you have given. Verifier will verify that whatever plan you have done is proper or not. And this verifier will give the feedback back to planner. Again, planner sub-agent will spin up. It will review the feedback. It will change the plan if required. Again, give it to verifier. This loop is there between your verifier and your planner. Now you can keep a max iterations of this loop 3, 5, 20, totally up to you. Depends on how many tokens you want to burn. But it's not necessary. It will break that always. Sometimes it will just happen once. Verify will give feedback only once. Sometimes it will give twice. That's all. But that is your max iteration should be there so that you do not causing an infinite thing and you're not burning a lot of tokens. Once your verifier is verified, then it goes to executor, and this executor can be different sub agents as I'm showing in this diagram. Then those sub agents either they can work in parallel or in sequence or parallel and sequence. It totally depends on that. How do you orchestrate it? Let's say you are taking a full stack repo and you want to implement full stack feature. So in that, these sub agents can be parallel. That one will do front end work, one will do back end work. That can be parallel. But the way I explained at the start of the call is that that is a sequential thing. Agent reviews the agent sub agent. Sorry, architect sub agent reviews the requirement. It gives it to engineer. Engineer implements. It gives it back to agent architect sub agent. This is all linear subagents. So it doesn't necessarily have to be parallel because people think subagents means it has to be parallel. Otherwise, what is the point of subagents? No. The reason we have subagents, another important is that context preservation. In your chat, you have max of 200K context. Now we have 1 million also, but 1 million is max mode. I don't think any one of us is using that. But you have 200K context. As soon as you are 100 crossing 100K, you will see something which is known as context rotting. Your agents will start hallucinating a little bit. So what sub agents does that is that it runs in its own context, in its own 200 window of context. So when you are implementing, let's say I told implement this user story, I will have one sub agent which will fetch those details. I will have another sub agent will plan it. I will have another sub agent which will verify it. Now, creation of this sub agent also consumes tokens, but they are very less. The actual work that is happening within the sub agent. So it is using its own 200k context. Okay, so your 200k context is preserved. You are using maybe like uh, 500 or 5,000 or 10,000 tokens in that. But if you were doing all those things within the chat agent chat, you will cross the 100k context soon. And once you cross 100k context, it's gone. Your output quality is deteriorated. And that's why also sub-agents are really, really important. And that's why in this orchestration, we talk about sub-agents. The sub-agents need not be parallel. The main benefit is that it has its own context window and it will have its own execution environment and all those things. So it is not consuming your primary agent context. Is this clear? Because I've been giving this sort of a lecture since some time. Is this clear? Any doubts in this? Okay, I assume it's clear. Now, when is orchestrator an overkill? Let's say you're doing a very small bug fix, right, which is very straightforward. Then you don't need sort of a orchestration. You only need when you're implementing something complex or it's multiple user stories or even a single user story, but it is like a full stack thing or something like that. So you are the best judge when you need an orchestrator and when you don't need. If it's a small bug fix, hot fix, something like that, go ahead, prompt it, do it. But if it's something complex, it involves multiple repos because you can use cursor workspace and add multiple repos. Now, if it's across different repos and stuff, definitely go ahead and use orchestrator. Okay. Now coming to the last part, which is the dark factory. Now, dark factory is a very hypothetical thing as of today. As I mentioned earlier, Anthropic and OpenAI might be using this, but it is basically your Jira or Linear, whatever you're using for your ticket management. A ticket is created. There will be a webhook which will create a cloud agent. A cloud agent will take the input from that ticket, and the ticket should have enough context. And in your repo, you should have enough proper agents and skills and all those things, so that it will create a spec, write the code. It will have its own orchestrator inside that. It will do it automatically. At the end, it will create a PR, and there is where you come and you review it. So this is something that is going to happen for sure, if not by end of this year, mid next year. But this is happening, and no one is ready for this as of now. Everyone is even scared that if this is there, then why are we needed, right? Or maybe less of us are needed. So that is definitely there. But you being scared is not preventing this from happening. So you should be just aware of it, try to learn about it, and all those things. Now, that's
Does
light.
MCP also runs on cloud?
Sure, go ahead.
The MCP also runs on cloud in this case?
MCP also runs on, yeah, MCP can also run on Cloud Agents. So I'll show you this. Can you see my window cursor thing?
Hmm.
Yeah, so here you can give it access. So these are all Cloud Agents. It will have access to MCP and all those things. Yep. So cool. So before we go to lights out, dark factory means lights out. So you have to have robust harness, hard rules, review gates, well-defined skills, MCP with least privilege because you can't give your auth token with all permissions to MCP, right? Cloud agent will go ahead and do anything. Observability and kill switch. Kill switch meaning if any point of time it's going in a way which you don't want, you should be able to just flip a switch and kill that agent. So before we go to dark factory, there are lots of things that needs to happen. So we are far, but trust me, not that far. So Yeah, that's about the dark factory part. Um, yeah, what still breaks? What is still? Why are we not there yet? So because of missing context, novel bugs, ambiguous tickets. This is the, I would say, primary thing. Tickets don't have enough context. Um, security is again really important. Mm, yeah. Now, before I come to this, uh, from what I understand, like you guys still write code, so this will be an interesting question. What I told is that we should not write code. I mean, we should not like we should try doing spec driven development. Now, let's say you have raised a PR. Okay. Now, what do you believe? Should you review the PR manually, or should it be reviewed by agents? Or let's say you are reviewing other people's code. Other people have used AI and created their PR. Now, what do you think? Should it be reviewed manually or should it be reviewed by agents? Level one agent review. Okay. So basically, first you would have the agent review and then you will review it. Okay. What else? What else? Anyone? I want an answer from anyone. Should you review it? Should you can or you can come off mic and give detailed explanation, because there's an interesting discussion that I want to have, and again this needs a mindset shift. Anyone else who wants to talk or put in the chat? No one. Okay. So what I would say is that I'll use this scenario. Let's say everyone is using this agentic coding, right? Do you believe your speed becomes faster? Do you believe that you are able to implement stories faster? Do you believe if you have a team of 10 people, everyone will be shipping code faster? Now, in a day, you are receiving 5 PR, 10 PRs. If you review it manually, do you think it is scalable? No, right? It's not scalable. So that's why you have to make the review agent smarter. You have to focus on making your review agent smarter so that you don't have to review it on your own. And that's why if you see the first thing that company do in terms of custom agents is create a peer review agent. Even we have that, because that is the most critical part. And that review agent has to take care of security testing and vulnerability and uh, completeness and edge cases and a lot of things. So what you should focus yourself on is, if your company is not doing that, then you write a skill and share it with everyone, which is a code review skill, which you can use to review the PR. That skill you can run locally in your cursor using GitHub CLI, and you review the PR, and it gives you proper context of what this PR is doing, what are the strengths of the PR, and what are the weaknesses, what are the improvements that can be done. Okay. And for that, there are like certain inbuilt, not sorry, built in, but certain agents available: Code Rabbit, Graptile, Copilot Review. For those of you who are using VS Code, for sure you have Copilot Review enabled. So those are there already, and you can even customize this, right? The dot GitHub folder, Copilot instructions, that rules whatever you add over there, those are followed by Copilot Review too, if it's there in your repo. So you can customize this, or you can create your own custom agent. Okay, that's what some of the companies are doing. Even my company has done that. So, and if none of this is there in your company, but you guys are still coding with AI and manually reviewing PRs, create a skill, create a code review skill, and using that skill, you should be able to get what this PR is doing, what it is doing well, what is the improvement that needs to be done. And even in the feedback, you can categorize it using important, critical, minor, nit meaning like nitpicks basically. it's not necessary to do it, but just saying those kind of comments. You can categorize it, like you can do thorough review. Because today I'll tell you, last 1 month I am getting 5 to 10 PR reviews, and I'm a staff engineer and I am supposed to give approval to all of them. If I don't give approval and there are 10 other approvals, it will still want to go inside the code base. So I have to approve, I have to review. If I have to review 5 to 10 PRs a day, when am I going to do my own work? So I definitely use my own skill, and we have Copilot review and also our custom agents. So I rely on those things, and I still understand what's happening, and I still try to test code whenever possible. But again, even testing each of those PR is not possible by me. So that is one opportunity where some agent can come, where it spins up an environment and tests it, and tells us whether it worked or not. So this is again a mindset shift that happened with me, uh, and I want you to think about it. I'm not telling you to accept what I'm saying. If you think you should still do manually review, go ahead, but then you will face this issue once everyone is onboarded with agents and shipping fast. You will be the bottleneck, that you are not able to code review faster. So just think about it. And yeah, even for coding, try to do spec driven development, try to do orchestration and all those things. uh, yeah, so this is a roadmap that I wanted to leave you with. I think you are all at stage 4 already. So 4, 5, 6 is what you should do. Okay, right. Spec first, always create a spec, build a harness, right? Try to build a local sort of an environment where you can run it locally, either spinning up a Docker or something like that. Um, uh, and like, try to automate things that you're doing daily. Try to write skills. If you start writing with skills, then you can come to harness. uh, no, we are already at time. And yeah, then now I want to talk about how I actually work. Okay, before I talk about this, any questions on orchestration or harness or this code review thing that I talked about? Do you have any other contradictory thoughts or opinions you want to share?
So I have one point. So when you said you do review using a skill, uh, how is the feedback given back to the peer?
Back to the,
PR,
yeah,
like
so I
something is
use
missing.
GitHub CLI. So GitHub CLI will fetch everything and give me like the review. And once I tell that these are the comments that I want to give, GitHub CLI
Mhm.
will post it in the PR.
On the same line where it is supposed to be.
Exactly in the same line where it wants to.
Okay.
Thanks for asking that question, because I understand lots of people are not aware of the GitHub CLI. There might be some here also, and there's nothing bad in that. I'm just saying, if you're not aware, now you are aware and try to use it.
We are using Bitbucket, so I'll check an alternative for that.
Oh, hmm. If you're using Bitbucket or GitLab, they might
Mhm.
have certain CLI probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions before I talk about my workflow, how I do my entire day? No, no questions. Okay. So, in my day-to-day work, most of the time I am doing spikes. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a staff engineer. The responsibility of staff engineer is to create technical roadmap and work on unknown unknowns. Okay, not unknowns. There are obviously, when you're trying to implement something, there are unknowns and you have to figure it out. My job is to figure out unknown unknowns, which is even more trickier to do. So with those kind of tasks that I have, uh, I am getting now that the call is going to start. Nice. I don't know what top mid did, but anyways, sorry. So if in my task, what I do is I do a lot of brainstorming with cursor. Okay, and it's always in plan mode. So I will give it what is the problem, the reference repositories that are there. I'll clone it, I'll put it in a workspace. So for those who don't know workspace, let me show you that, because I have seen that people are not aware of workspace too. So if you have cursor, if you already have a folder, it's fine. If you still don't have a folder, if you go to file, you have an option add folder to workspace. So if you go here and then you go, let's say I want to add this repo. So now you have two different repos in your workspace. So now you can give reference of files and folders of two different repos in the same chat session. This a lot of people are not aware, and if you are one of them, now you should know that you can create a workspace. So whatever different repos I'm working with, uh, I will clone them, I will create a workspace of them, and then I will chat with my cursor agent in plan mode and using either opus high thinking or max, or I'll start with high. If I'm not getting the answers that I want, then I'll go with extra high and max. But I'll start with opus high, and then I will iterate over it. I'll try to brainstorm, and then I'll come up with a final plan. Now that final plan, because I am doing spikes, I am supposed to create Confluence docs and I am supposed to update Jira and add proper analysis over there. So I will use Atlassian MCP to create Confluence, because Atlassian CLI as of today doesn't create Confluence docs. So, but Atlassian MCP does. So I use Atlassian MCP to create Confluence docs. I use Atlassian CLI to update the Jira story. And here, what part I do is I have to give it proper context. I have to tell, no, this is not the way you're thinking. This is the right way of thinking. What about this? What about that? Because it will do in a set of predefined way. It will not consider multiple ways of doing things and the trade-offs and justification. Because sometimes the thing that is industry-wide adopted is not what your company is doing. So that is where you have to tell the context, and sometimes you might know certain limitation or constraints of your companies or your product or your tech. There you have to tell it. So that is where I come in and I give that thing, and then it will come up with a plan, and then I put it in my Confluence, or even as an MD file, I'll export it and I'll add it in my Jira ticket, because MD files are easier to work with. Another thing that I do, I also do implementations. I have to do quick POCs and stuff. For that, we have created a feature orchestrator, which works exactly as I talked about earlier in the starting of my call. Architect subagent reviews the requirements. Engineering subagent, which has access to different domains, front end, back end, iOS, Android, all those things. QA subagent, architect reviews it, QA tests it, and at the end I review it, whatever the implementation is, and I say yes, it creates a PR. And even before PR, I do an internal review using my PR's review skill, and then I give it to the GitHub. I create a PR, and then automated reviews are then people will review, and then I will address the comments again using cursor agents. So this is how I work. And even for Slack messages, I have a Slack MCP. So we have to periodically share updates daily. So I have not automated it yet, but I have given it a skill that this is the format that I want to share my updates. This is a channel, and it posts it. Mm. And that's another thing. Another thing I use Slack MCP is to gather context. So if I know there's a long discussion in a Slack thread, I'll give that link to the Slack MCP, and it will fetch the context from there. That's another thing. Um, I never create stories or anything. If I want to create a story or anything, I'll use ACLI. I never leave my cursor ID. That's what I'll. That's in short what I'm trying to talk about. Everything I do, it is from my cursor agent. Creating Jira, getting the Jira context, creating Confluence, getting Confluence doc, coding, obviously, reviewing PRs, anything. I will do it from within my cursor. That is my sole software that I use in my development nowadays. Um, and agent orchestrator is that part that I talk, and that is based on skill. So we have different skills, and like architect skill, front end skill, QA sub agent skill, and that's if engineer skill has a references folder. Inside that there are domains, front end, back end, iOS, Android, all those things, and we have kept this skill feature orchestration skill as very generic, so that everyone across Procore can use it, and they will contribute back to it. And this skill is not uh, what do you say, one thing, one short thing. You will have to iterate over it, you might have to correct it, you have to give more context to it, but it is a good starting point where everyone in your org or everyone in your team is doing software implementation in the same way, using agents in an autonomous way and in a most efficient way. So that's how my daily workflow is, and those are different tools I use. Yeah. Now it's Q&A time. You guys can uh, ask whatever questions you might have.
So I'm not understanding, I mean, the clear intention, but just want to clarify. So we already have a plan, right? So the plan tells everything in and out, what are exactly things we are going to do, what not, from where, how, everything, right? Then why we need this architect again, and then engineer, and then QA, and all these things giving feedback on that?
Very good question. Very good question. So I'll answer that. So basically, in your plan, you are going to form how we're going to implement that, and you're going to say test this, test that. This is the output I want. These are the edge cases that you need to cover. Okay. Now you gave that output as an input to your agent. Now, as I told, agents are non-deterministic. Whatever input you give, it will try its best to follow, but it might hallucinate. What these sub agents, agent, architect, engineer, QA do is that it will keep the agent in alignment with the requirements. So it will refer the requirements as a source and it will see the implementation. Engineer will refer to the requirements as a source. It will follow the plan, but it will also refer the requirements. Now, once the engineer is implemented, architect will not see the plan. He will see the requirements and see, okay, is it following it or not. It will keep your main agent in track and not hallucinate. And QA is the most important one because you have asked it to test. Trust me, whenever you ask an agent to test its own code, it will give positive feedback. It is well, perfect, I have covered everything. That's where you need a QA sub agent which will create tests, and that tests will tell you whether your output is correct or not the agent itself. So that's why you need this all orchestration and harness. Am I answering your question?
Yeah. And one more thing.
Hmm.
So to do all the things, so are we using the same model, or I mean for Q agent or
Good
CPU
question.
and yeah,
Good question. As
yeah,
of as of now, Cursor or Claude or anything, yeah, anyone Claude Code anyways won't give any other model. But as of now, Cursor doesn't support switching your or spawning a sub agent in a different model. So as of now, it's not there. But ideally, this is how I would want: is that the architect will always have Opus model, engineer will always have Sonnet model, QA sub agent will always have a Codex model. That's ideally how I would want. But if you want to do it autonomously in one agent, one chat session, you can't do it. Your sub agents will always be Composer because that's what Cursor currently defaults to, and your main agent will be whatever you choose. But yeah, ideally, I would want to tell it which sub agent to spawn. I see one other question. Minal has asked. Harness is basically agent getting approval and review from users. Is that no, no, no? Harness is not that. Harness is not that. Harness is basically you create a sandbox environment where your agent can test the output, right? Let's say if it's a backend thing, it can spin up a server, it can spin up a DB and test it out. If it's a front end thing, it can spin up on Chrome headless or Chrome browser and test it out with Playwright. That is what harness is. Harness is your feedback loop, which feeds back into the agent. It will run it and it will come back and it will improve upon it. That is what your harness is. So feed forward is something that you gave it before, which is your agents.md, MCP, skills, rules and whatever. Feedback is what harness is. Is like you were giving your agents an environment to run your code and test it out. And yeah, for a couple of things that I now remember. So I talked only about PR raising, right, in my workflow. After my PR is raised, the deployment also I do it in from Cursor. We have a deployment orchestrator that we have created. So we deploy our JavaScript bundles in Cloudflare, and then we have our own environment that is like proprietary environment where we deploy those bundles to test. We have to create shipments and stuff, but that's very technical to our company. But basically, spinning up containers is what you can assume. Spinning up containers. If there are existing containers, then claiming those containers and then inject in our bundle files. All those things also I do it from Cursor. I have created a skill for it. So all I need is our tokens, the API tokens for those, and I can do it in my Cursor. So yeah, that's one more important thing that I missed to talk about my workflow. So when agent uses MCP, is that part of it? Agent uses MCP, it can be part of it, but agent using MCP is not harness engineering. If it is using MCP while testing, let's say if using Playwright MCP for testing your output that the agent created, then yes, then it's harness. I'll give you a couple of articles which you guys can read, so you will understand better. Yes. This is one, and now regarding following sessions that I might have, it will be more practical where I'll help you create this entire orchestrator, and we'll talk about MCP. We'll have a dedicated session on MCP, creating MCP. But it will depend on demand because I don't know if anyone is interested in creating MCPs. But for skills, I'm sure people want to create skills and this entire orchestrator. So this was sort of a masterclass where I explained things. Following will be more practical, and again, all of these are free. I'm not upselling you anything. You can choose to join, and you can watch recording. It will all be free. But just wanting to let you know that I'll have all these sessions. Okay, Kriti, I got it. Kirti, sorry. Hands-on session of MCP or skills or any. Both. Okay, great. Got it. Cool. So I will have those following sessions, both MCP preferred. Okay, nice. MCP is preferred. Great. So two sessions I have in my mind: an agent orchestrator using skills, where I'll help you create skills, review, enhance all those skills, create an agent orchestrator, sub agents, whatever I talked about in that. And another will be on MCP, that is completely on MCP. So these are the two that I can think as of now. If you guys have any other suggestions for agentic engineering sessions, let me know. I can consider taking those. But for this session, that's it. I thank you all for attending this. As I request in all my sessions, if you find it valuable, leave a feedback on TopMate. That does help me motivate, conduct all these sessions going forward. Um, and today, for some reason, TopMate was not working. I apologize for that, but I make sure it is working next time. And yeah, I'll stay here for any kind of uh, questions that you have, any request of particular agentic engineering session that you want me to take, apart from those two that I already talked about.
So the one you are actually using in your day-to-day life, right? So planning and then creating a feature as orchestration, right? I'm really interested in. So I
Yeah,
think it is the way. Yeah.
yeah. That will be my agent orchestrator session. Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome, Shashad.
How do you see? I mean, this is off topic, but just I'm asking.
Hmm.
So after seeing your the sixth point, I was not aware about dark factory, but yeah. So how do you see life of engineers after